Alright, so I'm just going to look at the hourly time frame before we do bias at 9:40, and I'm just going to look at some other potential highs and lows that we should actually look at marking out, really, which there isn't. Now, I'm not going to bother marking out this level here because it's around 5 to 600 points away from price, so we're only going to look at this once it comes to that area. I think there's something wrong with your screen. Yeah, what the fuck? Why is it green? Okay, right. I'll unshare it and I'll reshare it. I don't know why the fuck it's gone green. Let me know if that's all good now. Take a look at this. Does that look cleaner to you? Do we have a green box? Has it disappeared? No green? Yeah. It seems to be pretty good for everyone. I think I've just fixed the green issue, if any of you guys had that. Alright, cool. So, 1 minute time frame. That's the New York Open low. I thought so. So, open low. And then if we have it on ES, which we do, we can just paste that in there as well. Yeah, when I was learning ICT, guys, you know, going back to that topic of when I said my first year was 70k in futures payouts, I locked myself in a box when I was learning ICT. You know, I was working, sleeping, or I was in the box watching the 2022 mentorship, and it was a shit time, you know, but it's also a time to reflect on, and without that I wouldn't actually have become anything. So you do have to go through a period like that to achieve anything in life, you know, and to acquire the starting knowledge to kind of kickstart everything. Alright, 9:40, let's look at bias. So daily time frame, as you can see here, it is currently bearish. Now we traded up into a daily bearish gap. The draw is going to be lower to the next daily bullish gap, which this one has already been inversed. We're not going to take that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So the daily's bearish. Okay, 4 hour time frame. Well, you would see it to be bullish here, and these bullish gap and the bearish gap, they don't overlap, okay? So it doesn't neutralize a bias. So you have to understand this. This one's been inverse, so we're not focused on this one at all. We don't care about it. So to make it simpler for those of you that can't see this or think that it's neutral, is that it was bullish, it traded bullish already to being in the bearish gap, so it's now bearish for the 4 hour. Okay, so that's 2 bearish results. The hourly time frame is bearish, so we traded out of the bullish gap into the bearish gap. From the bearish gap, it is bearish towards the bullish or the next low, but the bullish is the first obvious draw. So this is what we have so far. Okay, higher time frame leans completely bearish. The 15 is likely to be bearish here as well, which it is. Yeah. So we're looking for shorts. Price trades up into a lower time frame premium, potentially taking some sort of buy side. Not London highs, but still taking points of buy side. And if we look at the 5, see, on a day like this, it's very easy to actually look at our intraday bias on the 5 and 15, which is also bearish because it's very close. That's it, 100% bearish bias. So if we look on the lower time frame here, let's have a look on the 5. Simple maths. From the high to the low, we've traded to a 50%, so we're in a premium, lower time frame. We have taken points of buy side, simple. And if we look at this point of buy side and look at ES, that's a bearish SMT. So ES is the weaker asset. The draw as of now is the New York Open low on both assets with a bearish bias and a sweep of buy side. So as we approach 9:45, we're only looking for one thing, and that is an inverse of a bullish order block like this and a shift in market structure. So that is how simple the model is. And then from there, we look for a gap on both assets, and that gap to be paired with an inversed bullish order block, which would form to be a breaker or a mitigation. Now, the more times you repeat this, you shall become the best, you know. Have you tried this model on gold futures? No, I have not traded gold, and I never will. I don't see the point. I believe trading the forex market and also trading gold, oil, etc. is not as high probability or easy than trading the Nasdaq and monitoring ES. Now the reason behind this is because when I monitor the Nasdaq, I'm also looking at ES, and they both move very correlated, very much similar. If you look at both, NQ is pushing towards the high and so is ES, but there's slight differences, okay? And we use that to our advantage. But if you're to trade gold, you're only looking at gold, and you may put silver or other metals into the scenario to split your screen, but that rarely happens. So people who trade gold, they trade gold and that's it. They only monitor gold. With Bitcoin, I monitor Bitcoin, but I also keep Ethereum's chart open. But Ethereum is not essentially it's not an asset to look for an SMT, because Ethereum is followed from Bitcoin. And it goes from Bitcoin down to Ethereum to Solana, Polkadot, and all of the coins under Polkadot and Solana. They all follow from Bitcoin. Okay, it all starts with the main event, essentially. So trading the Nasdaq, no, that's a long answer to your question. No, I don't see the point in looking at gold futures. Would it be an obvious short? A couple weeks ago, I said yes. I had someone message me that they was going to buy gold, and I texted them immediately back, and I said, look, you're making a big mistake here. Don't be buying gold at a 13, well, it's actually at a 9-week high, closing each 9 weeks consecutively, back to back. So that was obvious. But that's just stupid people who text me, you know. Sometimes they're not very knowledgeable in the market and they just think that they can make money, so they're in their early stages and they never will get there. But I know them from the past, had to save him money. So a shift in market structure lower would give us a B+ short. Following our model, how much time does it take to get funded? Well, that's going to take you 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the price action. So on average, around 10, 11 of the months, you're going to close them out to being a 5 to 6 hour profit, which would pass your eval. So 2 to 4 weeks to pass it. A buffer of 2k, well, you're not actually looking for a buffer of 2k because you start with a 2k drawdown either way. So whether you're up 2k on the account or you start it fresh, it's still the same thing. You got 2k drawdown, so there's no difference. Building it to a 4.5k profit is a difference, because now you've got 4.5k drawdown, not 2k. That essentially is going to take you a period of around 5 to 6 weeks to get it to a 5k, 4.5k profit on your account. And along that way, you can actually, take a few $500 or $1,000 payouts as you build your balance to a 4.5k profit. Can you actually full port to be funded? No. The only prop firm has no consistency rule on evals is Apex, but all the other ones like Take Profit, MyFunded, Alpha, and Top Step, they all run a 50% consistency across the board. And whenever you go for, say, MyFunded futures, Alpha futures, you want to make sure that you go for the pro account, not the standard plan, because especially on Alpha futures, what you're going to find is down the road you're going to miss out on cash, because they're going to give you a lower split on payouts, and also MyFunded futures is only going to give you a cap payout at 1k, and then the second plan will cap you at 1k, 1.5, 2k, 2.5. But if you go for the pro plan, minimum payout is 1k on MyFunded futures. So that's why it's important to go for the more expensive, but we're talking $200 instead of 70 or 50. So there is no difference, but when it comes to taking a payout, it's very important because let's say, for example, you build a buffer of 4.5 and your average payout's going to be 3.5. If you've got the standard plan, you can't even take your 3.5k payout. You'll be taking 1, and that's going to actually set you back, and you end up building a massive buffer and you can't even take the payout. So that's a hidden clause with my fund of futures. Make sure you go for the pro account. Don't be a cheapskate, because down the road you're gonna get fucked. That's in simple words. With Apex, how do you deal with 5 winning days for a payout? It's actually 8. So it's 8 days above, I believe, $50 to $100, and then you can actually take a payout. Whether they've put it down to 5 or not, I believe it has always been 8. And you just trade your account normally and you'll be eligible for a payout. You're not going to take 5 consecutive back-to-back winning days for a payout. By the time you're eligible for a payout, you're going to have the winning days regardless, and you're going to take losses in between, so it doesn't make a difference. Now, also another point that I was recently looking into, and I actually did capitalize today, in fact, I took a short position on a low cap coin, which I didn't put inside of the group because this is something that I'm currently, working on, and I will actually inform you guys when I take these type of positions, is that lower cap coins, and I only trade Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I find it very easy, obviously, predicting Bitcoin's price. Now, recently I've been looking at very low cap and manipulative coins. Okay, so people that own 60-70% share of that coin, and then they look to collapse it once it gets to a point that they're happy with. Okay, so basically the way that you trade this is that, for example, in my Bitcoin short position, as of now, I'm actually looking for, well, why don't we just pull it up? So if we just look at Bitcoin. So as you can see here, we're currently trading out of a daily bearish order block on Bitcoin, which is a bearish confluence. But what I want to see is that Bitcoin will likely trade up into the unfilled imbalances above. Now, for example, when this move happens, and whether it happens or not, okay, this move in itself will cause a lot of meme coins and starter coins on the Binance network to skyrocket 50-60% into the green. And when it trades into this bearish fair value gap on the daily time frame, and then it starts to say work out of, so on the 4-hour time frame, trading up into the daily bearish gap, then on the 4-hour time frame or the hourly time frame of what you would look for, because that could easily get run through, but what we actually look for is that when it's trading in the daily bearish gap, which is around this area here, is that we'd look for, say, a 4-hour bearish order block or an hourly bearish order block to be put in place whilst trading out of that imbalance. And then you look at the low cap coins, which are up 60-70% since price has obviously taken sell side on the daily to the left, if you take a look, and you short, and you go short, and you will secure the quickest 50-60% gain of your life, which is extremely easily predictable, and you can take it with a small part of your portfolio, say 5-10%, and that's what I did today. And I actually took a position on this coin. Okay, it's called NMR. It's on the Binance network, and I actually went short at 8.7, so 11.87, which you can see here. Now I've already closed out the position. So basically we was trading out of the 4-hour bearish order block on Bitcoin, and Ethereum was currently up 3-ish% on the day. I ended up taking a short when this coin traded up to 1187. Now, the majority of this coin is owned by one specific holder, and you can see on the daily time frame that it just collapses out of nowhere. So we see a collapse, and then we see these where price it's just getting fully liquidated essentially. So this coin is going to zero. Okay, so it's draining all of everything out of it, so there is nothing left. And when you find these type of coins, it's very easy to trade them. So it went up to 1187 and I took a short at this area here. So we was trading out of this bearish order block on the 15, a bearish order block on the daily and the 4 hour on both Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I closed out when we took a point of sell side here. So it wasn't a massive gain, and realistically when you was actually to take this short, what you would do is target the previous low. And these type of positions, you can see that's a 16.4% gain. You take that with a 3x leverage, which would give you a 50% gain on your position. Now, I don't really advise you trade these type of coins. They're pretty pointless, to be honest. They are easily predictable if you understand Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is the number one and most easily predictable asset. On days where we don't take a trade, you just take a trade on a small account, $50, $100, just so that the day counts. For example, if you don't, well, you need to understand the rules of the prop firm. I understand your question, and it sounds like a pointless question, but I understand why you've asked it. Is because of your account getting cancelled whilst you're funded. And if you don't trade that account for a period of time, some prop firms can take it away from you. Now, majority of prop firms is around either 2 weeks or 30 days. So just understand the rules. You don't have to take a trade. If you don't, if you miss one trading day, no prop firm is going to take your account away from you. It's got to be a period of around a whole week or even 2 weeks of not taking a position. Milo, in one of your short videos, you said you wasn't profitable with your 150k account until you made small tweaks. Could you elaborate on the changes you have done? What short exactly is that? And at what point was I not profitable? Not really too aware of that. It doesn't matter if I'm trading a 150k account, 50 or 25, there's still the same positions getting taken, which is either going to result in $200 profit or 1.5, so I don't understand that question. That's a bearish order block. There's no bullish order blocks here. That's not a bullish order block because it didn't close above that down close candle. Okay, so this is a very clear example of a displacement which didn't occur, and it's just traded lower to taking out a point of not essentially minor sell side, but one of the first draws for position. Milo, we don't look at the 2 minute, no. We don't look at the 3 minute or the 4. 1, 5, 15 hourly, 4 and daily. Isn't the 938 candle an order block? Yes. But how would that be relevant to our current? Milo, the place that you've got in Thailand, is there an estate agent you went through? No, so basically I Airbnb'd it, and I told the lady that I'll basically take it for the year, and they ripped me up a contract and took it off Airbnb. But there is estate agents you can go through, and you just contact them. The best is to not contact them online, because they're not the best. Just pull up to an estate agent in public, you know, and Airbnb for like a week or two, and you'll find a place. But there's one estate agent called Fazwaz, so F-A-Z Waz, like literally how I said it, and they're going to help you out in finding a place. Did we not accept shorts at 10.05? No, so I spoke about that previously, is because price failed to shift and create a bearish gap at this point and just traded lower to taking out this low. So there's not anything that I want to take as of now. Okay, easy work guys. That was the first day of macro. No positions to take there, and we're going to wait for the second. As we spoke yesterday during the backtesting, which some of you guys didn't tune into, I see 170 of you guys watching live now, because I'd say 100 of you only care about, you know, watching me trade live, which is fine, and you do get benefit from the both, but also some of you guys wasn't able, time-wise, to make it to the live stream yesterday, so chose to watch the pre-recorded session, which is great. And either way, majority of you guys have watched that backtesting session, and we started at a random month, a random date that I didn't even know about, and went to October 2024. We backtested the same speed, or slightly slower actually, to what I usually do, because I don't speak when I backtest, but to you guys on live I did. We went over a few positions that members backtested, or they took live themselves this year, so we backtested and went over those trades to see if it was valid or not. So it was good to see that point of view as well. And that was posted inside of the backtesting channel, which is backtesting ICT Fanatic, and the link is there. It's a private YouTube link, so if you haven't already seen it, it is posted inside of there, so take a look at that. And then I've seen a lot of people over the weekend actually spending time in the VIP only backtesting channel and backtesting amongst each other and verifying if that trade that they took was correct, and people come to a mutual agreement to say yes or no. And it's good to have that kind of backup where someone is going to also guide you if I'm not there or available at the time. So yeah, hopefully you did find that valuable yesterday. I know only around 50 or 60 people did watch the backtesting, but that's the work behind the scenes to going in the ring. But a lot of people just like to go in the ring without actually training. So that's number one, you know. It's number one. Okay, so 10:35, 10:40. I will speak to you guys shortly. Okay guys, welcome to the second AM macro. Okay, and as of now you can see for NQ that we have this accumulation period. Same goes for ES, and ES took out the low from the accumulation period. Our bias currently stands as bullish. We are in the mixture of the New York open low and also that point of buy side as well. Now, one thing that I would say here is that this short-term low doesn't act as a point of sell side, and with NQ still in the accumulation period, I'm not going to take this as an SMT to take a long, because we're still inside of this accumulation period on NQ between equal highs and also this low as well. So just because ES was in accumulation and took a short-term low, which was spaced out by around 5 minutes, is not a point of sell side that I would say we've essentially broken out of accumulation here. So what I'd like to see in this second day of macro is price trade down to a point of sell side like the New York open low and actually take a point of sell side on NQ, because right now NQ is still in accumulation as we speak, and I don't want to be taking a position like this inside of this accumulation here. So we're still obviously now just entered inside of macro. Our bias is now a strong bullish bias. NQ is currently accumulating, so I want to see a nice clean manipulation of sell side, which would follow our bias. For those of you that just heard what I just said, I mean, if you feel confident in taking this position, then take it. You all have your own decision at the end of the day. You're just watching me do my job, and this is not a position that I want to take. NQ is currently accumulating and there's been no sweep of sell side. Now ES took a 1 minute low out of accumulation. For price to manipulate, I'd like it to see either taking out buy side or sell side, not a 1 minute low. So you can choose to make your own decisions. I'm not taking this trade. So as you can see here, NQ is still accumulating and nothing's happened. So we're waiting for manipulation. How do I... Yeah, so if basically for drawdown, you just do your account balance minus your max loss limit. That's how much drawdown you got. Can you see how price has still done nothing? Are you surprised? It's accumulating. Just because you may be in a point of boring times and no positions because of one macro, two macros, when you're backtesting, you don't force a position, you just go to the next session, don't you? And this is exactly what I said at the start of this stream. Exactly what I said. I also said it yesterday in the backtesting session, is that when you're live, because of time, because you can't be bothered, okay, it's going to cause you to make bad decisions and take things that you shouldn't be taking. When you're backtesting, you skip to the next macro like it's nothing, and before you know it, you're 7 days ahead of yourself in the space of an hour or two's period. How many trades did you take during August? Off the top of my head, I don't actually know, but I definitely took over 10 positions. There was a specific week, I believe it was week 3. It was week 2 or 3. I took around 4 positions in that week, and they were all winning trades. So it was 4 out of 4 winning trades. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I couldn't trade. I can't remember why I couldn't trade Thursday. I just wasn't there. Or something. I wasn't there on the Thursday. Maybe I was on a flight. And then Friday I caught a position, so it was 4 out of 4 winning trades that week. So it was actually meant to be 5 winning trades, but I missed Thursday. I can't remember why. XRP got a lot of spot ETF approved. Should be a long-term. Well, I mean, the whole crypto space and the Nasdaq and the whole market is coming down, so XRP is not going to be something that is the golden dust which goes into a bull run. Am I saying that XRP is not going to have long-term benefits and continue higher than what the previous high already is? Yeah, of course, but can you expect that now for the crypto market? Absolutely not. And everything, including the Nasdaq, is still overinflated. No one's buying anything. Okay, maybe retail, but institutions are not buying anything right now. They're sitting cash, and to think that XRP is going to be something that comes from the mud is a foolish decision. Even if an ETF is approved, it may cause an initial 20 or 30% run up towards the ETF, and then once it's released, it will dump. That's usually what happens with ETFs. The same with Bitcoin. We've seen a 30% push, ETF was launched, and it dropped around 20% straight after the ETF was approved. And then shortly after, obviously, it rose October 2024 around 50 to 70% once the money started to accumulate and push into the crypto space. But that was also at due timing with the halving, so supply shortage plus demand increase. I mean, it's just simple maths, isn't it? And that was when I was in a Bitcoin long from January. Well, for those of you that took a long now, I hope you're having fun. And for those of you that took a short earlier, after we took that low, that was also interesting. Once price manipulates out of this area, it becomes very easy, okay? Because then we have a clear direction for price. Just because ES takes a 1 minute low, this is not sell side, okay? For an accumulation like this, which is over a period of 30 minutes, we want to see an energetic move. You will see it, okay? It will push down lower, around 30, 40, 50 points, either higher towards this high or this low, and it will happen within the space of 5 minutes, even 3 minutes, okay? So I want to see that, and if it pairs with our bias, then I'd happily look for longs from the New York Open low, or shorts from minor buy side, which is actually just buy side now. So for example, an SMT at the New York Open low is something I'd be interested in for a long. If ES was to take it and NQ not, I would then be looking for a shift. That's the difference. So we're currently in the period of a manipulation. It's not fully manipulated, but NQ has come out of accumulation now and it's taken out this low, so minor sell side, and the preference is the New York Open low on either asset. i.e. both NQ and ES just took minor sell side. The major would be 930 low. Yeah, that's correct. But now NQ has actually come out of accumulation. If we shift market structure higher here, I would be interested in longs. So we have manipulated on NQ, but whether we see that bullish shift in market structure inversing that bearish order block here for price, then I'll be interested in that. Otherwise, we'll just trade towards the New York Open low. Okay, so ES takes the New York Open low, and that's a bullish SMT on NQ. That's whether it's going to hold or not, likely not. And we would look for a shift above the bearish PD ray on NQ and ES. Okay. So exactly like I said there, trading towards the New York Open low, and now we can look for a shift higher, a nice clean shift in market structure. This business is not meant to be fun, guys. I don't know why people get excited. Okay, this is just about you doing your job correctly. And in the meantime, you can make your decision on where price action is likely to go. It's very obvious. It doesn't mean that we have to take a position 24/7. And, you know, November's been one of the slower months. We had a period during October where we didn't take a position for 7 days, but we still closed October plus 8R. So we've got 2 weeks left of this month. This is the first day of the week. Whether you took a short today, you made nothing. Whether you took a long today, you made nothing. And it's not about whether you made anything either. It's about whether you took a valid position. Even from seeing price thousands of times, ES taking the low with a couple ticks, the likely scenario is that it does reach back for the short-term low. And then with that, it would form another bearish order block from this up close candle. And then we can look for the model as we near the end of the macro. But it's going to likely, unless we see a shift now, we won't be able to see the model inside of this macro, which is fine, you know. It is not a problem. It will still give us the lunch for an opportunity. Okay, so what I'm actually doing now is uploading a video on YouTube, which is about, not psychology, but the starting steps to your journey, which some of you guys might find useful. It's not a long video, it's around 20 minutes. But take a look, I've just uploaded it now. So between this macro and lunch, you can take a look, it's on YouTube. You might find it insightful. There's no Lambos, there's no Rolls Royces in the video, in the background, nothing. It's just me talking about the journey of success and how you shall get there. You already know how you're going to get there, but you might find this video useful. There you go, ES creates a bearish order block and takes the low, as I said. But this is the thing, obviously it's pushed us outside of the macro and we're going to wait for the lunch. Okay, so I will unmute my mic at 11:35. Alright, so between then, that YouTube video has just been uploaded. If you want to take a look, take a look. If you find it boring, click off. But you might find it useful. I'll speak to you guys in a sec. Alright, we're back. Okay, so I just finished up on a few dips and pull-ups between the macros, and some of you guys I've seen might have watched that video I just dropped on YouTube and may have found it useful. I doubt you've finished watching it already because there wasn't really enough time to complete the video. So we're looking at the lunch macro here, and obviously we swept the New York Open low and now have traded up into a premium. Okay, well, a lower time frame premium anyway. And basically we're going to start with our bias and then work on from there. So I'm going to relook at the daily. Nothing's changed. 4 hour still remains to be bullish. The 1 hour is bullish towards buy side. So buy side's the draw there. So the 15-minute bias, it was bullish, and then as of now it's traded below the New York Open low to trade into nothing. Okay, so we inversed this bullish gap, which put the 15 to be bearish. It met the draw, and the 15 is currently just neutral. And the 5 is likely bearish. Let's see. So it traded into a bearish gap, it inversed it, which puts it as a bullish bias towards the next 5-minute high, which is this one on NQ, which has not been taken on either one. So it is bullish on the 5. Also trading, this gap got inversed anyway. We inverse the bearish imbalance, which puts the 5 to be bullish towards that 5 high. So our bias still remains to be bullish. Flying girls to Dubai, lesson learned. Yeah, always fly a female to Dubai. Don't go to Dubai looking for females, because I'm not saying you won't find in the right places, but it's definitely not an easy place. Okay, so the women there are not easy, and you do have to go to specific locations, which if you was in, say, Spain, for example, you're going to find like a nice girl on the mall, but in Dubai you're not going to find a nice girl on the mall, because she's not going to want she's going to want a Hermes bag, you know. That's Dubai. But in Spain and other places it's different. So to look for longs, we need a sweep of either minor sell side or the low here, which we put in place following our bullish bias. Why did we not take the trade in the first day macro? I mean, was you not inside of the stream? I suggest watching it back when I upload this stream on YouTube shortly and seeing why we didn't take that position. It'll be easier to watch it back afterwards than me trying to explain it now. I mean, I could explain it in a couple seconds, but I'm wondering why you wasn't in the stream previous. The first day of macro didn't make any money anyway. It was not a valid position. Okay. What scenario will bring us to look for shorts? Well, we've took buy side. If we had a bearish bias, we'd be looking for shorts. I mean, it's as simple as that, guys. If you don't understand the model, you need to backtest more. You need to hop onto TradeSeller after this, because majority of you guys are not currently in the evening, so you need to spend the rest of this day and tell Bob that you're not turning up for work today because you don't understand the model. That's what I would do. And that's exactly what I did. You know, some days that, you know, I was busy with business, trading and business always came first. And I told him, I said, I'm sick today. I'm not coming in. I'm backtesting. Okay. And I said I had to take care of other business. And because they were short on security guards, they already knew they can't sack me because they would have nothing else, you know. So they chose to put the manager in charge of my shift. Leverage your position. If you get sacked, you're going to get another job. Whether you're making 2,000 or 10,000 a month from your job is fuck all. You're not making nothing, okay? So treat this as your number one and put time to this. If you have a shift in a few hours, who gives a shit? If you have business to do, business comes first, and this is your business. Bob and Stacy can wait. And if Bob and Stacy decide to sack you and get someone else, no problem. You are the person in charge of this, and you are the lead director, not Bob and Stacy, so you will go find something else. And if you don't find something else, it doesn't matter, because this is all you need. Do you understand how many jobs I got sacked from in the early days? around 15 jobs in my hometown. There was nothing left for me. Nothing. There was not a job that I could walk into and get apply because I'd already been sacked from there previously. I worked in every single swimming pool in my local town as a lifeguard. I worked in every single door as security. I got banned from some doors and I, got accepted to some doors. And then I told them that I was busy and then they sacked me. I worked as an Amazon delivery driver in Southampton and Bournemouth and got sacked from both, they call it DSO2. That's the site in Southampton and Bournemouth as well, the newer site. I got banned from both. I got banned in Southampton because when I went up to London, I reversed down because I couldn't be bothered to go the long way through London, so I decided to reverse down a one-way street. And they seen it on the camera and they sacked me for that. And then I was working at the Bournemouth site and I got caught on a what do you call it? One of those Ring doorbells. I threw someone's package at their doorstep. They sacked me from the footage because they received a damaged parcel. Worked as a chef. I gave someone food poisoning because I wasn't focused on the job. Just didn't really care. Got sacked from the warehouse for watching ICT, and that was my final job. I was watching ICT in the back of the van. I wasn't even stacking parcels anymore. I already received my first payout. Couldn't care less. And they saw me. Basically, they said, "What are you doing on your phone?" Just sat there. I said, "Yep, I'm watching YouTube," and they sacked me on the spot. If you get sacked as an achievement, okay, if you haven't been sacked, there is an underlying condition. Let's relook at our bias here. The 5 might have shifted bearish. Not like this is going to change our bias, but the 4 hour might shift bearish as well. Okay, so the 5 is now bearish. And the 4 hour, still bullish. 15. Still neutral. But many of you stress about the unimportant things. You need to go for the opportunity that's going to make a difference, because it's going to take the same amount of energy to make $1 than it is to make $1 million or $10 million. And the opportunity to make $10 million is right here, but you're choosing to put your priorities towards something that's going to fuck your life over and make you $2,000 to $3,000 per month. Okay. But you shouldn't actually quit your job, because I was funding my evals from my job, and if you have no money, you do die, okay? So you can't afford groceries and you can't afford your rent. So don't just quit your job and trade the model, because you need some sort of income. And if you haven't received your first futures payout, don't just quit your job on the spot, okay? Take your first payout, at least put yourself with a 15 or 20k USD buffer and go out of your country and then lock in. Don't just quit in credit card debt of your job and then trade the model, because then you're going to find yourself like other people taking longs and shorts in positions which you shouldn't be taking, because you're trying to reach your payout or get funded quickly, because you're in a rush. Because you're ticking time bomb to dying. So don't put yourself in that situation, and it will happen. It's not going to take long. And if you get sacked in the process, find something else. There's agencies wherever you're from. It doesn't matter. It's easy stuff. If you're living with your parents, I was living with my parents. That's when I was in the box. So I was working security, sleeping, and then trading, and also watching and backtesting 24/7. That was all from my parents' house, and as soon as I left the UK, that was it. Do you dollar cost average VU or ETF like that long-term investment. No. I don't buy stocks. I don't buy ETFs. If I was to ever do business with an ETF, it would be on options on IBRK Interactive Brokers, and I would either take an option call or long, call or put on a Bitcoin ETF. I would not use ETFs otherwise. It would only be for options. If I want to take a option based position on Bitcoin, it would have to be through an ETF. But I don't use options. I only use leverage, isolated margin on Binance, and I use spot orders on my Trezor. Okay, so the 4 hours now bearish, as you can see. We only really get a bearish bias around buy side here. Don't you pay yourself? I mean, of course he pays himself, but essentially he is part of a firm which, without him, what he's saying is, it's likely would fall apart unless he found someone with the same knowledge base and can do the same amount of work that he is doing at that place or at that firm. So, you know, it's like a barber shop. Without the best barber and the person that everyone wants to go to, the barber shop falls apart. You know, so if you're in a business or you own a business which without you it falls apart, is a business that you shouldn't be in. Or if it's a business that's unscalable, because essentially without you in every business that you ever get into is going to fall apart in the early stages. It's only when you get to a very scalable business with employees that you can actually take the throttle off and the work's done by other people. So in 99% of business, it always comes down to you to make the decisions. And without you, nothing is obviously going to succeed for yourself. So the business that we're in is ultimately the most scalable business in the world. Now, obviously, yes, you can make $300 on a position, or you can make $10 million on a position. Now, that's the scalability side of things. If you're running a law firm, like he stated, or you're running a barber shop, it only goes to a certain extent. You can only get so many barbershop chains, and you can also, with the law firm, I don't really understand it on how it operates, but you can only go to a certain extent. And it's definitely a $1 million business, you know. Law is an absolute $1 billion industry. But you really have to think about scalability. It's long to build 5x top step accounts. Well, this month, yes. I mean, you wouldn't have actually built them at all. You would be on a decline. And last month, you would have passed. So, on an average month, it would take you around 2 to 4 weeks and you'd pass the top step accounts. So right now our bias is currently neutral. Let me just look at the daily a second, because we've actually got a bearish bias. The daily's still bearish. 4 hours bearish. 5 minutes bearish, which is a bearish bias. In the lower time frame, we want to see a shift in market structure lower. Okay, so our first point for price to shift market structure is this low. This low is fine, and this low would invalidate the position. So this is step 3 for a shift lower in market structure. Lots of questioning how the 4 hours bearish, because we're in a bearish gap. I don't really understand why people would question it. Well, we're in a bearish gap on the 4 hour time frame. I mean, what do people not understand about a bearish bias on the 4 hour? We traded out of a bullish gap. It was bullish towards the bearish gap. Is in both bullish and bearish. Well, it's not, because we was in the bullish gap. We're not in the bullish gap anymore. We've traded out of it. The bias has been bullish. We've already traded. We swept the New York Open low. We've swept buy side. And now we're in the bearish gap. We're not overlapping both Fair Value gaps. Okay, they are completely separate. If both a bearish and a bullish gap, this part is neutral, but it's not happening in this case. It's just bearish. If you want to understand the 4 hour bias, then look on the 15-minute time frame from 10 AM when the new 4 hour opened. From this point, we traded out of the bearish gap, which was bearish on the 4 hour. Okay, this is where people get confused on bias, and they would say, oh, but your bias was incorrect, or your bias this, that. Look at the 4 hour. It opened at 10 AM. It traded out of the bearish gap. It traded bearish towards the bullish gap. Trades into the bullish gap. It's now trading bullish. So you need to understand this. And now the bias is currently bearish on the 4 hour time frame. So to understand where and what we're currently drawing out of on the 4 hour, if it's out of just one candlestick on the 4 hour time frame, you need to look on the 15 from that candle open on the 4 hour, which was at 10 AM. So it'll make sense to some of you guys and some of you guys not. But that's it right there. That's a bullish order block. That's a sweep of buy side. And this would be our shift. Alright, so on ES we put in a bullish order block there, so a shift below this low would be valid. Let me just look at the 5. So the 5-minute bias right now is bullish towards the next 5-minute high. The 15-minute bias still remains to be neutral. And the hourly bias still remains to be bullish. The 4 hour still bearish, which actually puts us with a neutral bias. Okay, so this actually puts us at the end of the lunch macro. Today on Monday there wasn't any positions to take. I'm going to update this on the sheet that we have of positions we take through the month, the P&L tracker. And you guys will see our P&L month to month, year to year as we move forward. So you guys are all part of this. That's why we have a P&L tracker. You guys can see October's results and the way that we closed out October. And you can see current November results on the days that we took a position and the days that we didn't. So I will update that sheet now and I will put that inside for you guys. That does conclude today's live stream. Hopefully you found this useful, and the backtesting session that we hosted yesterday, hopefully you found that useful as well. See, one person is a couple ticks from a payout, so he needs to take one more position. He's been waiting patiently for a point to take a payout. So I'm going to speak to you guys tomorrow, so Tuesday 18th for the New York AM session, and we'll be live for then. I'm going to upload today's live stream on YouTube. I'll speak to you guys shortly.